Welcome back to the Coach's Corner, sponsored by Premier Lending. I'm Devin Dubuque.
And I'm Coach Rick.
And Coach, you're actually, you're in North Carolina today. You're at our headquarters.
Down at the headquarters of Premier Lending. Just moved. The company first moved here, I think, back in 2019. And the thought was when they moved to Charlotte, huge banking center, great employees, get enough space to bring everybody in-house, and then COVID hit. And we weren't using about a third of the space that we had. Yeah. It wasn't set up as functional. And so we're in this new center. I'm in like a combined kitchen area that anybody can use. And right now we're the only people on the whole floor. So it's kind of cool. We got the whole floor to ourselves.
Yeah, well, and you're out there too for a little secret mission, man. You got some cool stuff cooking up. So
a little recruiting going on. So, we have our red carpet day, we like to call it, where we show people under the hood. And what's really interesting is in the first 10 minutes, we were going through Encompass and showing the customizations that we have with Encompass. And both the people that are here were absolutely floored and couldn't believe that every company doesn't have it the same way we do. So it's pretty cool to be just heads and above everybody else when it comes to the Encompass.
Yeah, no, definitely got some cool tricks and cool toys, and that's, something we'd love to showcase if you're ever in the point where you're looking at making a transition. Us over at Premier, we've got some cool things behind the hood. But today, Coach, I know we were talking a little bit about, we left off last week on, how to scale business, where to implement VAs. But I think we've got a really interesting topic for today. What do we land on? What are we coaching on today?
We kind of just touched on it, talking about some of the cool things that we're doing at our company.
Yeah.
A lot of times what's happening to people out there is they're hearing too many good ideas. You and I both join our buddy Scott Hudspeth on the morning show, and the show's growing. I think there's, over 600 people in the network. There's typically 100 plus people that are live with us every day.
Every morning.
And Scott has absolutely brought in some of the best speakers across the country. And they're not just speakers, they're actual loan officers who are doing it and doing it and doing it. Yeah. And what happens is you can get paralyzed. You can be on this training session. You can be on our call. You can watch our podcast. You can see 5 other guys and women out there doing podcasts. And all of a sudden, the shiny objects start looking like the stars at night in North Dakota. What you need is you need to look up and see the stars that you see in New York City. You see 2. There's so much light. And you got to take your focus and you got to bring it in to where it's one, what is the one thing that'll help me immediately?
That's right.
What is the one thing for longevity? And what is the one thing that, whatever your third item is? Do you want to grow your team? Do you want to grow a branch? Or do you just want to grow you?
Yeah, don't focus too hard on the shiny objects. Stay focused on the things that are going to move the needle the most in your business. And when you master those, then we move on. And by the way, you touched on some of the great guests that Scott is bringing on to the Redder Morning Show. If you've been tuning into this channel, a lot of those same great guests are coming on here as well. So, keep coming back every single week, because one of my secrets is if I see somebody that's doing something awesome over there, I bring them over here so I can share it with our viewers, because I want to give you all those tips and tricks on what's going on in this industry today that can move the needle. But, taking a step backwards from that, today, if your business isn't already where it needs to be, we need to stay focused on the foundation and then work on the shiny objects as we get the basics done and the train is already moving.
Yes, exactly. When you're looking at it, depending on, are you the person that's closing one or two, sometimes a 0, are you that person that's closing 5 or 6, or maybe you're that person closing 10 or more, and you're trying to get to that next level. Each person's already identified what their problem is. The one doing 1 or 2 probably just isn't talking to enough people. They're not getting enough no's. The one that's doing 5 has started doing some of the activities you need, and now maybe their thing is they need a support person. Maybe they need that LOA. How do you structure that into your business? And then the person that's doing 10 or 12, I mean, I'm working today with somebody who's trying to 3x their business and they're already doing 25 million. And so we are sitting down and building a plan on how to go from 25 to 75 because they've already done 75 to 125 million as an originator, so they want to learn how to do it again. And so it's really cool. And as you're listening to these ideas, you have to filter out the ones that aren't in your bailiwick right now. There's some really cool stuff, but if you start focusing on those, you're not focusing on what needs to get you from 2 to 4 and 5,
Well, let's go backwards on that a little bit. I know we've touched on this before, but what are the things to help just jumpstart the business, right? Let's talk about this. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. COVID happened, business scaled way up, rates went way down, and then all of a sudden, rates spiked back up to a normal market. And as a result of that, right, a lot of people, they shut down. So you had all these people that were closing all these loans, and then all of a sudden, the floor gets ripped out from under them, and they're left with that puzzle. Well, what the heck do I do now? Right. And we've got veterans that are in this industry right now that are having those questions. And I think some of them are going back and going, man, I already built it. I don't want to have to rebuild it again. Right. But what do we need to do? Right. What is it that we need to be focusing on today if our business is not moving in a positive direction?
Whether you're a veteran or you're brand new to the industry, and just as a side note, I'm going to tell you right now, from the tracking that we do at coaching and stuff like that, to just working with our own employees at Premier Lending, the people with 8 years and less experience seem to be growing their business at a better pace than some of the more experienced veterans. And I do believe it's because of, it's almost like post-traumatic stress. The veterans have rebuilt their business 3 and 4 times. I mean, you go back to the early 90s like me. I mean, we had it, once or twice in the 90s, even though we were coming out of double-digit rates. We had it happen again in like 2008 when the world just totally collapsed. We had it happen again in 29 and 10 and then 13 and even in 18. You had those dips, and all of a sudden companies were laying off underwriters and processors and stuff. But the people that are experienced, if they are having troubles right now, they didn't have their foundation in place, or they weren't marketing to their foundation, which is 2 things. One is your previously closed loans, realtors you've done business with on all those transactions, and literally staying in touch with your family, friends, old coworkers, college buddies. I tell the story a lot of times. I had this young man that worked for me back in like 2003 to 2005, and we had a monster refinance craze back then. We were getting people, my gosh, man, we got people down. I remember the day I locked in 4 doctors on jumbo loans at 6 3/4. And they were so freaking excited to go to 6 3/4. They literally were at the golf course. I think it was a Wednesday or Thursday. All of them were off on a Wednesday or Thursday. And they passed the telephone around the table where they were sitting for lunch, and I locked in all 4 doctors. And that came from calling that doctor buddy of mine that I went to high school with. I just happened to call him up, and I said, man, it's been a while since you've been in your house. Do you know what your interest rate is? And he said, yeah, I think I'm at like 8.5. I said, I can get you like 6.875 today. He goes, well, I'm sitting here, and he named off the 3 doctors, and one was my other doctor. And I was talking to my orthopedic surgeon, and it was just crazy. And he said, if you can get us all 6 3/4, we'll all lock in right now. Man, I didn't call the boss. I didn't call nobody.
Yeah.
Bingo, let's do it. I locked in all 4. And then, of course, back then, everything was by hand. You had to meet them in person. But that whole transaction wouldn't have started if I didn't just call a friend.
That's it.
And the young man that worked for me, he had his high school directory. And in Cincinnati, he went to one of our popular high schools. It's called St. Xavier, St. X High School. He graduated with there were 1,600 people in school at the time. He graduated with 400. This dude had the the directory for like the last 50 years of the school. And if he didn't have back then, well, I used to teach that it took 3 loans a week to make over 100,000 a year. Now we
Yeah.
get paid more bips and loan amounts are higher. But he took that, if he was on Thursday and he didn't have that third or fourth loan in, man, oh man, he was in that directory till I'd have to send him home at 9 o'clock at night and tell him to quit calling people. So, if you're trying to build the foundation, start with the people closest to you, the people that you know, the people that you're friends with, then go to your past database, then go to those realtors that were involved in those
That's right.
transactions. But look them up. Make sure that they are performing.
Yeah.
I always say find yourself the top agents, and the top agents are typically doing minimum of 1 a month. The middle pack would be doing 2 a month, and your studs are doing 3 a month.
Yeah.
And
So,
20% capture rate. That's the big thing.
Yeah, no, you're right. And let's talk about this real quick, right? Because a lot of people listening, and there have been a lot of moves in the industry recently, or over the last several years, people have moved places, and some of those places had non-competes. Depending on how far you out from that, if you had that or non-solicitation, really is probably the bigger elephant in the room. There's places you can regain that database, and if you've passed through your non-solicitation phase and you just don't have access to that data, you actually do, right? And that'll go back to our friends over at Redder, Scott Hudspeth, Steve Wyans, the Redder Morning Show. We plug these guys all the time, but only because they're the center source for the data that you need right now, right? So let's talk about that. I don't know how to touch base with those agents because I don't remember what agents I work with, right? Or I don't remember all my clients. I've got some on my phone, but I don't have all of my phone. You can pop into their network and go back to 2017 and see everybody that you've done business with. But more importantly, you can also see what rate that you locked them in at. And even more important than that, you can see the partners that were associated with both sides of that transaction, right? Yeah. And I was having a conversation with one of our loan officers the other day who he's a little rusty. He hadn't gotten out there and stayed in front of his people. And he's like, man, I tried calling some of these agents. The conversations were really awkward, And he's like, I didn't really know how to start that conversation with the listing agent. And I said, well, start with the borrower, because what he did is he called up the listing agent on a transaction that he hadn't talked to in 4 years. And he said, hey, I'm fill in the blank loan officer. And, I was going back through my files and I saw a note in there that said, hey, I wanted to reach out to you. And, no time like the present. And the agent's like, well, what do you want? Right. So I said, hey, let's flip that. Hey, I didn't forget about you. Hey, I was going through my database and I was talking to the Smiths. I don't know if you remember this transaction. We closed it back in 2013 or 2017 or 2018 or whatever, fill in the blank. Right. And, I saw you attached to the file. I see you're out there killing it. And man, I just thought, man, we need to connect. You're still in this industry. I'm still in this industry. Let's meet up and let's talk about, what's going on in the market right now. I'd love to hear more about what you're doing. Right. And, that's how you can go back and connect with an agent you didn't know. If it's an agent you did know, again, you're using that client as the bridge. The client you're reaching out to and just saying, hey, I just wanted to say thank you, whether you're trying to do a mortgage or not. I truly appreciate you and who you are. And man, how's the house? How's life been? What have you been up to? I'm just trying to connect with all the people that I've worked with over the past. And, I loved working with you. Right. And then use that as an opportunity to extract some business. Hey, while I've got you on the line, even if you're not doing anything, hey, who's the one person right now that could benefit from what I do? And if you ask for one person, a lot of times that's a lot easier for them to reach into the repertoire and go, oh, you know what? My buddy Steve was just talking about doing something. Steve, right? And then, hey, would you do me a favor? Instead of just telling him to reach out to me, would you mind doing a 3-way text? What I found a lot of the times is if you give them my number, they don't always call. But if you do the 3-way text, I will always call and I'm going to make you look good because I want to take care of your friends so that when it's time for you to do your next thing, I'm right here for you. Right. And then you call those agents and you can call that buy side agent, even if you hadn't been doing business with him for a while. Hey, I was talking to Steve Smith and man, we were brought up the old transaction. Your name came up and man, I just thought I got to reach out and talk to Terry. How you been? What have you been up to? Man, you know what? We got to talk again. It's been a while. Let's have a coffee appointment. And, that's what's going to make those connections. And you're just going to the people that you already know, that already know you, and you're building the relationship. And now the listing agent comes easy because it's like, I was talking to that client and I saw, you on the other side. I see what you're doing, man. Wow, you're crushing it, man. I would love to catch up with you. But that goes to one more thing. And I think this is important too, and that goes to social media. And, at the end of the day, if you're on here right now, you're on social because you're listening to us as we speak, right? You are on social. You need to be on social. We've talked to a lot of people that are in this industry crushing it right now. And the common denominator that I've heard from a lot of them is that when somebody says, hey, who are you? And you say, look me up. And they see that you're active and you're out there, not just, doing the stuff with your family. That's important. Post that. But they see that you're out there actually contributing back to this space. They go, oh, wow, okay, that's somebody I'd partner up with. So if you're trying to make some of these connections, make some noise on social too. So when they look you up, they go, oh, that's somebody that I should be working with, and I don't think that is a shiny object, Coach, as long as you're not spending all your time there.
Yeah, I would say if I was telling anybody, experienced, inexperienced, that is, they are trying to get their business back to where it was, or to 2 or 3 exit like my friend is here today, or just to start getting those 2 loans a month, I'd say 3 things. One is your database in your phone and any past clients, no matter what industry that you're in. If
Doesn't
you
matter.
came over and you were some other industry, you still, they all have homes, they have kids, they have, all types of opportunities. They have parents that are selling homes. Maybe they need a reverse mortgage, whatever. You have opportunities. The second thing is learn how to get your Google account going.
Yeah.
I'm not a good example of that because I personally haven't originated since like 2010. Now, I've been involved in tens of thousands of deals since then with my employees and my teams and the branches that I've worked with and people I've coached on a daily basis. So it's not like I forgot. But the Google, you need the reviews, you need to be posting stuff, you need to have your name getting out there. And if you don't know how to do it, there are videos on it. There are loan officers, there are coaching companies that all preach how to do it. Heck, we both know how to do it, and we have people that we're working with to do it for us. And like I said, I am not the best example. And if you look up Rick Koenig and he threw 5 touchdowns in 1977, that's not me. Although until the internet, I could claim that it was me. Right now, they can look it up and go, "That's not Rick." But and then the third thing would be after the Google is do your social media. Have a power hour, whether it's once a day.
Yeah.
I recommend once a day, once a week. Start that power hour. Start with 1 thing first or 2 things first. If you already have LinkedIn and you have Facebook, make sure your business information is on there. If I come to your page and your damn phone number is not there, or your email is from 3 companies ago when I click on contact information, what in the world?
Make yourself accessible.
And if they're not your friend already, they can't see your contact information until they're a friend. So put it right in your profile.
Yeah.
Put your NMLS number, put your cell phone number or whatever number you want them calling to, and your email address. If you want business, market for it. Start with LinkedIn, do your Facebook. If you go to Instagram, you can update Facebook and it posts to Instagram.
You can.
Twitter, and I tell you the big one, although I'm not personally on it.
I don't think it's Twitter anymore.
TikTok.
Yeah.
Hit the TikTok because, in the political realm, this young man, a kid named Charlie Kirk, went from like nothing to almost 1 billion views during the presidential election last year. Whether you enjoy his politics or not, that's insane. And so you can start doing the same thing. And I would challenge you. Our buddy Scotty Hudspeth just told me something really cool this morning when we were driving over here to the office. And he told me that he is going to start doing a 1-minute video every day for 365 days.
Yeah.
And you don't have to be that. It could be as simple as I'm going to do 2 videos a week, and it's as simple as just pick the damn phone up, look at it. One of my biggest ones was just picking it up. I had on my Cincinnati Reds jersey, my Cincinnati Reds hat, and I had the Cincinnati Reds game on the TV over my shoulder, and I just picked the phone up and I go, "Hey, it's Coach Rick. You know, it's a whole new ball season. I got the game on," and I kind of leaned over. I showed the Reds behind me. It was opening day. I said, "Hey, if you're thinking about changing to a new team, give me a call. My number's in the script. Click on it, join me, friend me, whatever, and give me a call." It was a 45-second video that got hundreds and hundreds and actually thousands of views. And so the other thing I did, that power hour, I started going through and seeing who, and thanks for liking my video. Thanks for liking my video. Thanks for liking my video. You know, and if you're going to be on social media, be social. So one, database, whether it's family, friends, coworkers, high school, college, whatever. In Cincinnati, if somebody asks you what school you went to, you're talking about high school, not college. It's a Cincinnati thing. Second, get your Google stuff going. Get your Google reviews. Get posts.
Be visible.
Tag them. Be visible on there. And then third, go ahead and do that power hour. Those three things are about as simple, and then you can start looking at the next shiny object
That's it.
that enhances one of those. So,
Well, I'm going to do something real quick, Coach. We're just going to do this. This is literally how easy it is. Hey, it's Devin over here from the Loan Officer Success Partner at Premier Lending, and I'm shooting a podcast right now with my good buddy, Coach Rick Koenig, and we just wanted to reach out and say hi while we're live on air shooting this bad boy and say thank you so much for following us. Hey, and if you want to make a move or join a team that's out there getting it done right now, Premier Lending, reach out, connect, and I'd love to talk to you more.
love it.
There's a post right there, guys. That's all it takes. You'll see that on my page by the time that this podcast airs. So, you know, don't hold yourself back. That took, 30 seconds of our time and maybe another 2 minutes to get it out there, right? So do what it takes this week, but make sure we don't just focus on the social side. That's just one small piece of it. Don't get stuck in that rabbit hole, and don't go scrolling. Look for the people you want to connect to. Talk to them directly. Don't just slide through and hope that they pop up. Go find them, friend them, comment, like, DM them. That's how you're going to build those relationships. But pick that damn phone up and start calling the people that matter, because that's how you're going to build your business right now.
Exactly.
Thanks a lot, Coach. Appreciate you joining in, brother.
Nice to see you.
Yep. Well, I'll tell you what, guys, keep coming back every single week. Coach, I can't talk today, Coach. Coach and I are going to be here to give you all the tips and insights to drive your mortgage business to that next level. Hey, and if you love what you're getting here, make sure that you share it with 3 friends. Like, comment, DM us. We're always here to help. Until the next time, we'll see you then.